Hello, everybody. Uh, it's Dr. Rick here. Wish I was here under better circumstances. I had a lot of things I was excited about sharing with you guys on a number of things we have going on. I'm going to put that on the side to talk about something extremely important. Before I do, I need to remind you guys that we are still in need of support. We're always in the middle of a fundraiser because we're always behind on fundraising. But again, if you believe in the work we do uh, as an organization as a whole in the community, definitely look inside the description box, the post box, depending on where you're watching this at, and click the link and show some love. If you are one of those people who prefer to donate via Cash App, the organization's Cash App account handle is also in the description box. Literally less than 30 minutes ago, someone brought to my attention something that I believe happened sometime last night in Tampa. A black father, looks like he may be in his early 30s, um, shot his 8-year old son and his 5-year old daughter in the head multiple times. Um, Tried to say it was an accident, uh, but both kids were shot multiple times in the head. Their mom had just put them down to bed, kissed them goodnight, and went in the restroom. And she heard the shots, and she actually ran outside, thinking that it was coming from outside, but it was actually coming from in the bedrooms. Um, Now, what we're going to see, if everything is par the course, is a lot of emotional responses from everybody, but definitely those within the Black community. There's going to be a whole lot of my God, a lot of oh my gods and shaking my hands, and that's terrible, and that's evil, and all of that. And it's all of those things. It's horrible, it's terrible, and it's an evil act. But unfortunately, um, it's predictable, and we've been talking about it for quite a while. The easy go-to is he's just an evil person. The truth is, somewhere along the line, he was created through experience, through whatever he went through. He could have been and more likely at this particular point to do something that dark, struggling with mental health. This is nowhere near an excuse for the trash that he did. He needs to definitely be dealt with. But what I can tell you from experience and all the work I've put in, dealing with the back end of this stuff is not where we win. We deal with it on the front end. Because dealing with it on the back end, we still have two babies. One fighting for his life, and the little 5-year old girl is deceased, and the 5-year old boy is still up in the air. I mean, the 8-year old boy is still up in the air. That's still there. No matter what we do to him now, those babies' lives, one's gone. Hopefully, the other one lives and has a normal life because we're talking about gunshot wounds to the brain. Um, so, the back end of it is simply what we have to do now. If we are a community, we have to move on that because we are going to have to send a message that harming our children and our women is absolutely unacceptable. And it needs to be a message that's loud and clear. We are failing in so many different ways. Number one is because we lack proactivity. We don't like being proactive. We love to be reactive. We want to react after things happen. We want to expose or explore or deal with things from an emotional perspective. We don't want to deal with things and sit up and say, because there are a number of different stages that this dude had to go through to get to this darkness. And you can't tell me that there weren't people who were aware of it. This is not going to be a finger pointing, finger blaming thing. Mom should have chose better. Mom, women, sisters, you got to. No, we need to deal with the fact that we've got a couple of things going on. We're not properly developing our young boys. We're not strengthening them in the early stages of their lives to have an emotional awareness, yet have emotional strength and stability. We're not doing that. We're failing in that miserably, and we're not providing them with wraparound services that allow them to confront the mental challenges that they're having as adults. We're not doing it. We're not supporting programs. We're not embracing and having the discussions we need to have about mental health. And again, this isn't about giving him an out, but I guarantee you there's something wrong. You know, because we're so steeped in religion, we tend to make everything real simple. It was evil or it was good. And if it was something bad, then it was evil that did it. The devil, no. Let's talk about what's really going on here. We're not taking care of ourselves. We're not putting ourselves in the best position to win in life in many categories. And one way that it's playing out is in African American adolescent and young adult male violence. It's playing out. We're harming ourselves, we're harming each other, we're harming our children, we're harming our women, and no one is sitting up and saying that it's a problem. Yeah, we talk about it, but we're not addressing it as a real. You know what people do when there are real problems and they sit up and say, okay, we have an issue. This isn't an anomaly. This isn't an abstract situation. This is a constant and consistent problem. You know what they do? They sit down and they come up with solutions. They sit down and they actually sit down and talk about what needs to be done and how they're going to do it. They solve problems. Now, the solutions out there. This isn't something that I've visited seldom. This is something that I've visited and I've talked about and I've written about and I've lectured on for years. And I predicted 10 years ago we were headed here. There's a reason why intimate partner violence is so high, and intimate partner homicide is the second leading cause of death for Black females between the age of 15 and 44. There's a reason why the suicide rate between young Black males between 14 and 24 has spiked nearly 50% in the last 6 years. There's a reason why, and this is a little off topic, but we got our baby girls ages 5 to 11 and 10 to 13 killing themselves. So basically you say 5 to 13 because it's two different studies. One highlighted an age group between 10 and 13, the others 5 to 11, but at the same time, so we're leading in that whole category, 5 to 11 and 10 to 13. Why they have them intersecting, I don't know. That I didn't do the study, I didn't run the statistics, but what I'm telling you is we're leading in that category. Black girls are leading in that category, 5 to 11, 10 to 13. That's a problem that we need to address. We need to ask ourselves why. I've done a great deal of the research, a lot of research that still needs to be done, but there are a couple of things out there. Number one, social media is a heavily destructive tool, especially the young Black girls, well, girls, period, but I'm talking about ours, young Black girls. There's a lot of documentation on this. Shoot, places like Facebook already got it because Instagram is considered one of the most emotionally destructive and dangerous spots for young teenage girls. For a number of different reasons, we have to understand the impact and power of what we're exposing our children to on a regular basis. That's the front end of it. Everybody's trying to live up to something that isn't real because everybody's watching something that isn't real and believing that that's truth. And that's a problem. People are trying to measure their identities against unrealistic expectations without understanding what's going on. Their minds aren't processing it properly, and we're not doing anything to mitigate it. We're not being the dynamic force in our children's lives, and it's showing up later on. You have to understand that we don't get to 30 pulling triggers and blowing our babies' brains out just by happenstance. This is a consistent pattern of failure on our behalf because we are trusting devices. We are trusting a society. We are sitting back still trying to pretend that mental health isn't a problem in our community, despite all of the empirical data and evidence to the contrary. And it's showing up in our lives now. And the thing is, the world is getting smaller and smaller, and we're not going to be able to hide from it for much longer, no matter how financially affluent we become, no matter how well off we get. It's coming to us because the world is getting smaller. And we need to be addressing these issues. We need to be talking about them. We need to be doing better. We're talking about a 5-year-old baby girl. When I think about my babies, my oldest daughter will be 37 on the 18th of September. So 19 days from now, she'll be 37 years old. She's still my baby. And my youngest, all the way down to my youngest, I couldn't imagine anything happening. And I definitely can't imagine me being the cause of anything happening to my babies. And it goes for my boys too. Yes, I want them to be tough. Yes, I want them to be able to stand up to a world that's going to try to push them around. But as far as Pops loves them. And I want the best for them. And I would never harm my sons. And so okay, what has to be going through the mind of a man that's his go-to, that's his solution to what's going on in his mind, is to kill his offspring. Now, I don't know what the whole story is, and that's going to have, some influence on exactly what uh, is transpiring. Man, we got some dudes that have done. I've seen, and it's not locked into a certain socioeconomic group. I've seen this happen in the hood. I've seen a lawyer who was married to a doctor kill his daughter just to get back at her because she wanted out of the marriage. I've seen it all happen over the last 7, 8 years. And I've told you 10 years ago that this was going to be an outcome because we were slipping and nobody was paying attention to it. Everybody was talking, well, slavery can't be an influence. Hell, it's 100 and back then it's 135, 140 years ago. It's 142. And I'm study telling you, we're not healing and we're getting worse. And nobody's paying attention to it. I've written it in books. I've lectured on it. I've got videos. I'm talking about, I'm thousands and thousands of videos into this thing now. And people will show up, people will listen, people will sit up and say, man, you're on that, man, that's greatness. But nobody's sitting up saying we need to sit down and come up with a universal solution, a solution that can be applied across the board, across the nation, in every community, in every household, or at least every community where kids in the community can be impacted. We need programs. We need services, not just on the front end, but on the back end, but not just, definitely not on the back end. Yes, at this point, this dude has to be dealt with. He's in custody now, but he has to be dealt with. Why? Because we cannot be okay with our children being murdered. He's not, he's not the only one. Hell, we had a situation where a young 16-year-old girl here got killed by her mom's boyfriend. This happened within the last year. And we can go on and on. What are we willing to do about it? How far are we willing to go? What are we willing to invest in? Because it's the future of our people. But now we're talking about the future of our babies. What are we releasing our children into? What are we turning our daughters over to? If we got a bunch of emotionally unstable men, don't get me wrong, it's a bunch of stuff going on with our women too. Depression, unhealed trauma. And this is the world that is supposed to be sculpting the children of the future. We've got a bunch of brokenness trying to produce a healed environment, and we don't want to put in the work. We don't want to even acknowledge that the work is necessary. We have work to do. And sitting up and pretending that we don't, it's not going to change the fact that we have work to do. Man, it's probably been a good 7, 8 years now that I stopped watching snuff videos. And when I say snuff videos, the videos of my brothers and sisters being killed by police officers, by one another, and everything. I will not watch it. Even when it's something that's going on my desk that I've been asked to deal with, that I've been asked to address in some kind of way. You're going to have to just tell me what happened, because I'm not going to watch it. I'm not allowing it in my gate, because there's a point when a switch hits where it no longer bothers you. And the moment that something stops bothering you, you become more capable of perpetuating it. And we don't see that. We don't see that there's a level of insensitivity towards violence because we are allowing so many of our people to be consistently exposed to it in so many different ways, from video games to music, to movies, to real life in the community, and nobody's guarding anything. Our children are far too exposed to things that are warping their sense of reality. Again, I am not in a position to diagnose what happened, but I'm telling you it's not normal. And I'm telling you, everything has a consequence. There's no such thing as something happening out of nowhere, out of the air. Something happened, something led to it, something precipitated it. And you may never know because we don't know exactly where it came from. They may get to it, they may not get to it. They may get to a clear understanding of what happened, and it may not. But what we got to understand is it didn't just happen out of the blue. That's not a normal occurrence. So then we need to be figuring out how we can reduce that. That's the work that has to be done. You don't just sit up and look at something and say, oh, wow, man, it's getting bad around here. And then just sit up and go, oh, whoa, it's me. No, your responsibility is to say, okay, we've got to improve things. Your responsibility is to say, we're not going to leave our children and our grandchildren, their children and their grandchildren with a world worse than the one we inherited because we're going to throw our hands up in the air. No, that's not what we do. What we do is we turn around and say, okay, what do we need to do to change this? How can we get a grasp on it? How hard are we going to have to work? How long is it going to take? There is no quick fix. I can tell you that. I've been telling you what's coming for, like I said, over 10 years. I've been telling you it's coming. I've been telling you, and it's going to get worse if we don't do anything about it. We have an entire young generation that's under the age of 5 now that's going to come up and be socialized into the same insensitivity that's causing what we're seeing now, but it's going to be worse. So what we need to do is we need to isolate them. We need to separate them. We need to properly socialize them. Then we need to provide the wraparound service of mental health resources and guides and other resources that help strengthen the people who are perpetuating this crap on the back end. What I can tell you is that if we don't do something, there's not going to be much left to fight for and protect after a while. There has to be something inside of us that moves us to make a difference. There's got to be something on the inside of us that challenges us to stand up. There's got to be something on the inside of us that we see ourselves in those who are hurting so that we want to stop the pain. We've become so individualized in our thinking that we don't relate to our brothers anymore. We'll sit up and go, oh, wow. We'll sit up and go, oh, sad. We'll sit up and put an emoji on something. But nothing is moving us at a level that we're taking action. We've become so insensitive to the pain of others because it's just about us now. You start out, and next thing you know, you're hurting someone and you don't even know why, because they don't matter, because it's just about you feeling okay. It's just about whatever it takes to relieve what you're going through. And I'm not saying that people don't deserve relief, but I'm saying there's a path to relief called healing. Nobody's taking it now. The path to healing for most people is harm now. It's not real healing, it's harm. And we don't even understand why and how. And when someone tries to tell us why and how, we want to dismiss them. We want to sit up and say, that's not it. But nobody has a solution, but we don't want to listen to the solution. At some point, it has to hurt enough to make you take action. I could talk about this all day, and it's still going to be a reality. We have one baby, 5 years old. She's gone. We have another baby, 8 years old. There is so much to whoever this is. I'm not going to give a whole lot of attention because you're not even popping up with a name, but the person asks, how do we apply a cure without knowing and understanding the cause? Man, I've been talking about the cause for 20 years. We do know the cause. We're not properly socializing children. We're not isolating and protecting them. We're not developing them into what they need to be. So that by the time they get exposed to the world, they have a lack of a sense of identity, a lack of sense of confidence, a lack of sense of purpose of who they are. Hey, okay, it's Asiatic greetings. What's going on, man? You just popping up as a user on here for some reason. Uh, and I want to recognize this brother because he's a part of a group of brothers that are out there trying to do something. And so I want to acknowledge that. And he is the designer and of my latest gift, which these guys got me. I've gotten into the bead thing. And so you need to check out his site. It's Asiatic Greeting without the S.com. So yeah, but we do know the answers. The answers are we're not properly socializing children. We don't have systems. If you look at any other racial enclave, if you look at any other group, there are rites of passages. There are sweet 16s, but those sweet 16s and rites of passages, the bar mitzvah and the bat mitzvah and the quinceañera and all these other things, they're actually the culmination and celebration of something. They've been teaching them who they are for years. They've been telling them what they're going to become. They have an understanding of their responsibility and their place in the world. They know they're necessary. They know they are needed. They know they are loved. All of these things that give you a sense of place and identity and confidence. We don't have it. I've been talking about it. That's what Black Men Lead is about. So when we talk about we have the causality. The question is, are we really ready to put in the work? Are we really ready to be invested in providing this? I can tell you right now, before I ever got this thing on my desk that I'm talking about, there was another person that's sitting up posting literally on Facebook. This is a crowd, and the family is probably mad at her, but she says, it's a damn shame that I don't have one solid, positive, male role model for my son and my family. Well, then if I can't have manhood modeled to me, and then social learning theory tells me that the predominant way I learn is not about what I hear, but what I see and what I observe. How am I supposed to assimilate into manhood when I can't see it? More importantly, how am I supposed to know that I'm actually aspiring to manhood when manhood hasn't been specifically and consistently defined to me? We on a free for all right now. Everybody's defining manhood and high value manhood based on what they're good at. So if I got the bag, having the bag makes me a man. If I got the six pack, having the six pack makes me a man. If I can put it down in the bedroom, put it down in the bedroom makes me a man. When the truth of the matter is there's so much more to manhood that we're missing that actually trumps all of that. Yes, you need to be a provider, but are you a protector? See, if you can put into the mind of a young Black male that his first and foremost and most primitive responsibility is protecting, he will never harm what he knows his identity says he protects. But if you don't put it in there, his frustration will turn on it because it's the thing closest to him. We have a responsibility that we're failing at. And what we need to do now is be willing to get together and do something about it. And it's going to take a consistent effort. Like I said, I've been pushing for Black Men Lead, which is a rite of passage initiative designed to socialize. I've been pushing to take it national now for almost 10 years. I've been pushing to create a universal definition of what manhood is. I presented what I believe it is. I presented what I believe would be most beneficial to the Black collective to see men operating in. But we need to have an understanding. What are we measuring ourselves against? We should be able to go anywhere within the U.S. as African Americans. We should be able to go anywhere in the U.S. and come across another Black man and know what we should expect from him. And he should know what we're expecting from him. And that will actually take a generation minimum to do. Why? Because there's going to be a whole generation. We ain't going to be able to tell them nothing because they're being rewarded for doing stuff that's actually counterintuitive and counterproductive within the Black community. Why? Because that's how screwed up we are right now. He's got the bag, but he ain't doing jack for the community, but he's got the bag. He's a man. Brothers getting the bag, professional athletes, entertainers, doctors and everything else, getting the bag and then going off and grabbing them a non-black wife. And I will say this again, and this is a little off topic, but I'm going to say it again. There's nothing more radical that a black man can do than love a black woman. His most immense and intense character is expressed in the way he treats her. You can discern the character of a man by observing the countenance of his woman. And we've lost that. We're flaunting and beating our chests about things. I have things. I have stuff. But the things that should be most valuable to me, I don't protect. I don't nurture. I don't cover. I don't care for. And we're wondering why we're in the situation we're in. I am going to get off because, man, this is weighty for me. I've gotten to the point now where it's really waiting on me. That's why I'm thankful for brothers like the one Asiatic Greetings and Jeremy Burgess and Ryan McNeil and a couple of others that have come to me. I'm grateful for them because those are the guys I'm going to pass the torch to. They're younger, they got the energy, they understand the vernacular better than I do. They're closer in age and proximity, but there's so much work to do. There's so much more knowledge to be shared and obtained and learned so that people know how, people know where, people know when, but we have the answers. The thing is, we rather be emotive. We want to respond with our emotions. We want to react versus being proactive. And it never has gotten us anywhere. It never will get us anywhere, but frustrated, hurt, and grieving. It's time for a change. I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. As I said at the beginning of the video, for those who want to support the work I do, the information will be in the description box or it will be in the post box, depending on where you're watching this video. My prayers go out to the family of those two kids, to the mother of those kids who obviously is complete shock, to the rest of the family, and to all who are going to be traumatized by it. This is a whole nother chain of trauma that's going to have to be addressed that probably won't. And we wonder why we're where we're at. But anyway, may God bless that family. May God bless us as a people, but we're going to have to find a way to bless ourselves by taking action. On that note, I'm out of here. You guys have an unbelievable remainder of your day. I'm going to try to pull myself back together and finish what I started earlier. There's so much I want to share with you guys, but that knocked me out the box. It really did. So again, we've got work to do. On that note, I'm out.